So guys, today we're talking about visceral fat, okay? So if you may not know what visceral fat is, right? So that's the purpose of today's video, just kind of explain what it is, what the dangers of it are, where you store it, what it's doing to you, what the healthy range is and how you can reduce it, okay? So visceral fat, so there's a couple of different types of fat in the body. One of the main ones you'll be aware of is body fat. And body fat is everything you're pinching and wanting to get rid of and look really good, okay? Visceral fat, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a very crude drawing, okay? So before you ask, this is a human being, all right, in case it looks otherwise. So this is our person, okay? So where visceral fat occurs is what's called in the abdominal cavity, and where that is down here, right? So again, not to scale, and we're going to superimpose some of these. So we'll just say here, right, this here is your liver, okay? This here is one kidney, here's the other kidney, and somewhere in the middle then you've got your pancreas in here. Now, in between all of that, you have your intestines and all this kind of thing in there. Where visceral fat is stored, or where it's kept in the body, is inside here, in between. Let me just get a different marker, just keep on that there for a second, Shane. So, just so you can see this, so if you can just zoom in here a little bit, Shane. So, this is your liver here, okay? And these are your kidneys. And this in here is your pancreas, okay? So, you have your intestines, so between... So like I said, the body fat is that fat right at the tip of what you want to shift, okay? The visceral fat is what lies that bit deeper underneath the skin, okay? So in here, around the liver, the pancreas, the kidneys, there's an abdominal cavity as well, in between where the intestines are and all that. So where this visceral fat sits, it actually sits all around here and wraps all around these organs, okay? So your liver, your pancreas, into this cavity, so around your kidneys and all around in here, okay? So visceral fat is more pronounced on people who carry weight. So someone who's overweight normally might have a high rating of visceral fat, okay? So, but it exists in everyone. And people who are not overweight can have visceral fat as well, and they do. They can also have a high visceral fat, even though it's not as obvious in a smaller person as it would be in somebody overweight. So if you have an example of that, would be somebody, this skinny fat syndrome, right? So if you ever see people, or this might be yourself listening to or watching this video, you might be somebody who's normally relatively thin, but you have this stomach that's sticking out. You've got no weight on your arms, your legs, you just have this gut sticking out. And a lot of that is if you've got this protruding stomach and you've got a big waist measurement, that's normally a sign of visceral fat. So regardless of your size, if you've got this skinny fat kind of syndrome going on, chances are you could have a high visceral fat, and it's extremely dangerous to be carrying. So a lot of people carry about, oh, I want to shift weight and I want to shift fat, and that's important, and you want to shift body fat and look lean. And normally, look, as you shift body fat, the visceral fat levels come down with it. It's just the way it goes. You're using up that fat as energy. But the problem with this visceral fat, like I said, just coming back to it, is where your body fat might just be sitting out here on the normal body and in around your arms and all this kind of thing, and you burn that off. The visceral fat sits deeper inside in the abdominal cavity, okay? And it's because it surrounds all the organs. It's putting pressure on the organs, and obviously it's much more dangerous because of that. So where this fat is around the body here, what this does is really makes your belt tight, all that kind of stuff. But what this visceral fat is doing is actually changing the way your body operates, and that's very dangerous. So having high amounts of visceral fat has been linked through various studies and things to an increase in cancer. Okay, so everything seems to be causing that these days. Increase in diabetes, stroke, and the list goes on. Dementia, anxiety, all these kind of things are have the increase in visceral fat increases the chances and is linked more to these things in your health than just carrying normal body fat. Okay, so to kind of give you an idea of, I'd love to know, like a lot of people watching this video now, you know, probably never heard of visceral fat, or they don't know what their level is, and they're focused on their weight. Now, if you look back to yesterday's video, I talk about why it shouldn't be weight that you're looking at. It's measurements, body fat, but it should also be visceral fat, okay? So your visceral fat level, so the healthy range, or what's the guideline for it, is between 1 and 12. So this is just the rating of it. Anything above that, so you go above this, so you're talking about 13 plus, is considered unhealthy at this point, okay? So 1 to 12 is considered healthy. Above 12, so 13 plus, is considered unhealthy. Now, like I said, somebody could be a thinner person. It's more prevalent in people who are overweight and obesity, that you're carrying more visceral fat. But as I said, somebody smaller can still have high levels of visceral fat purely because of their diet or their lack of exercise. They're building all this fat, they're storing it in around the organs, and it's putting a lot of pressure on the organs, and it's starting to change the way the body operates. The next thing, you've got all these diseases, like obviously heart attacks, heart disease is another one that should be going in here as well. It's a very common thing and a very prevalent link to visceral fat, okay? So your healthy range is 1 to 12, above that is 13. So if you're somebody who's overweight or you're carrying a lot of weight at the moment, your goal should be get down to below 12. That's the starting point, is get down into the healthy range. But then obviously the more you train and you're exercising, you're losing more, you should be getting closer and closer to 1 and 0 at times if you can get it. So that's what you should be aiming for. Now, if you don't know your visceral fat reading, this is something you should really look at, because visceral fat is the real cause of a lot of the illnesses, and not just body fat. Body fat will make you look good, and when you lose that, you will start losing visceral fat, but you should really be looking at what the level of this is as well. Okay, so that's the healthy ranges. Steps you can take to reduce your visceral fat. So the first one is reduce, and you'll have seen the sugar video going around from me. I speak about the amount of added sugar that's in your diets, okay? So what you should really be doing, the first point, is reducing the amount of sugars or refined carbohydrates in the diet. So sugars is your added sugar, the crap sugar, not naturally occurring sugar that occurs in fruits, all that kind of stuff. That's okay. What we're talking about here is the added sugar that goes into food. And refined carbohydrates, that's all the processed food, processed packaged foods, okay? So you're trying to reduce the amount of that you're taking in. Number 2 then is increase the amount of non-starchy carbs, or non-starchy veggies, I should say. Okay, veggie, fats, proteins. So the likes of potatoes, they're considered a starchy carbohydrate. Broccoli, cauliflower, they're considered non-starchy carbohydrates, okay? 3 then, an obvious one, is exercise regularly. Obviously combining a good nutrition, a good food, it all comes back to very simple maths here, guys. A good balanced diet means you'll drop visceral fat, which means it reduces your risk of all these illnesses. It's fairly simple. So you're increasing the amount of exercise, decreasing stress. So whatever's causing stress in your life at the moment, you have to find ways to deal with that as much as you can, okay? Because the more stress, like the release of cortisol in the body when you're stressed is a huge factor in terms of fat storage, and particularly visceral fat. So the more stress that you're going on, it's not just about when you're stressed you go for bad choices. Yeah, well, that's true as well. Also, the cortisol that's released into the body during stressful periods, that hormone, that causes more fat storage and causes more visceral fat to occur in the abdominal cavity, all right? And then, so we've increased exercise, reduce stress, and increase your sleep. Okay, so you should, again, 7-8 hours of sleep, the general, like this is not rocket science to you guys. I know you know what this is, but by increasing your sleep, if you don't get enough hours of sleep in the night time, basically what happens is, again, it comes back to stress. your body's under more stress, it hasn't recovered, and again it's releasing more cortisol because you haven't had enough sleep, and then we're back to the problem of storing more fat, and particularly in that abdominal cavity. So look guys, I hope this makes sense. I just wanted to give you an idea of what is visceral fat. And it's not just about when somebody comes into us, you know, I want to lose weight. It has to be more than that. Like, as I said, people can lose weight, but you can still have a high visceral fat. So you really should get this checked, get it measured, see where you are, and put yourself, if you go in and get a body fat test done, a lot of them will tell you your visceral fat level. And I'm telling you that if you go in and get it done, your healthy range is between 1 and 12. And if you're above that, then you're in danger. It's as simple as that. You're in danger of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, because it's putting too much pressure on the internal organs, and that's where the real problems are lying. Okay, so look, I hope you got benefit out of the video. Please like it, please share it with your friends that need to know about it as well. Comment underneath if you've got any questions. Just on a side note again, guys, I said in last night's video, on August 11th at 10 a.m. we're doing a fundraising charity workout for Zara Cronin. So you might have seen some of the stuff going on Facebook, the different walks and things. So basically Zara needs to have urgent neurosurgery in September, and they have to go to Barcelona to get it done. They have to raise €100,000. So we're trying to get involved by hosting a charity workout at the Fair Green on August 11th, and we want as many people to come along as possible. It'll be a €10 a head. We'll collect it on the day, and all the proceeds go to that for Zara's surgery. So I'm going to post a link in the comments for people who want to register, come along to the workout. Please do bring friends, and we'll see you on the next video.